James.
Raphael.
Gear check. Quick gear check.
Yep.
I just copped the M5 MacBook Pro.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Thoughts? Haven't received it.
Haven't received it.
Okay. So
Why
bring it up? Why bring it up?
I don't know. I just said James, and then you said Raph, and I was like, think of something. And then I said...
Actually, I think this actually speaks a bit to the thesis of this podcast, because on a normal tech podcast, they would describe the specs, the software, the experience. They'd give like a consumer review, maybe a star rating. I don't know. Here, we're just in it for the love of the purchase.
That's right. The little dopamine hit.
We're fully gadget oriented.
Yeah.
In the sense that it doesn't really matter what it does.
No.
What it's for, as long as we've paid for it.
Exactly.
And we've received it, and we're sort of contributing to a global supply chain that stretches from Shenzhen, China, to the golden shores of the east coast of Australia. We don't really care what it does.
No.
We're just part of the machine, baby.
You're dead right.
Few bits and pieces this week.
So up the top, we're going to talk about Frank, the Frank scam. We'll get into that in very, very soon, in a minute. We also have X, Twitter, allowing you to see a user's location.
Big tech story of the week.
Yeah. We're going to check in on the media and search traffic plummeting, etc.
Yep.
OpenAI rating Apple hardware.
Yep.
Nvidia earnings. We're going to check back in on that.
Yep.
Actually, should we start with Nvidia? No, we'll start with Frank.
We'll start with Frank because it's kind of funny and short, and then we'll get into Nvidia, and then we'll move into the other stuff. But we're chock-a-block for our 2 episodes today. I know it's been a bit AI heavy over the past few weeks, but some stuff has happened, which means we don't have to talk about new models and all the rest of it. So you should be pleased about that as a listener.
So Frank, we talked about Frank. I'm going to Google right now. Frank down round and see what episode it was. Do I have to do down round podcast, Frank?
It's possible
they had a down round. Yeah, I know that was not ideal wording.
No, we did. We had an episode about them probably 12 to 18 months ago, probably maybe even longer than that. It was a while ago.
Oh, sorry. Up the top, though, I'm going to say, what do we have? 105 reviews. We need more reviews on Apple Podcasts. And we'll read out your reviews. We'll read out your review about what you say about Down Round Podcasts on Apple Podcasts. Yep. Or I think there's reviews on other. If you have like Pocket Casts.
Yeah, there are other reviews
something
that pop around time, but the Apple ones are the
ones.
If
you use a weird one, though, still give us a review, because on one of them in particular, I think they're rinsing us.
Yeah, there was one. It was like Podcast Addict or something. Someone gave us a negative review 3 years ago because they claimed that we were Apple cucks. Yeah. I don't know if that was their exact language. But anyway,
sorry, Frank. We 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago or something, we talked about Frank. Frank is a student finance platform. It was acquired by JP Morgan. So the whole idea was that it was like a financial planning app, which also had, I believe, some student loan stuff. It was like a funnel towards financial products. Yeah,
for people who are college students in the US.
Yes, I guess Zoomers.
Yeah.
And, listen to the episode before to get like the full rundown of it. But basically, JP Morgan bought this company for $175 million.
Banking giant JP Morgan.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're the biggest. They're the biggest bank in the world, right?
I think so, yeah.
Let's fact check that quickly again. Oh, no. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, the ICBC, is the largest by total assets, while JP Morgan Chase is the largest by market capitalization.
Okay. Well, yeah. But again, big love to the People's Republic of China, but they often say that like their state-owned utilities and shit are the biggest companies by revenue in the world. Yeah. And there's a lot of like money moving back and forth between like provincial energy utility outfits, I'm just saying, whenever you read that, grain of salt, folks, but they are big businesses. Yeah.
Anyway, so JP Morgan acquired Frank, obviously being like, great, you've got this massive customer base, this huge list of customers who are seeking out your app, your cool Zoomer-style app for financial advice, and we can obviously monetize this. Charlie Jarvis was the CEO. She was mover and shaker. She might have been 30 under 30 even.
I don't know if she was, but the vibe. She's got the vibe of Forbes 30 under 30.
JP Morgan, so, to cut a long story short, acquired this 175 mil. Cool, she's working for JP Morgan. Sends out their first email to this customer base and gets a slew of we could not deliver your email.
Yeah. Fast forward, Charlie Jarvis is in prison for 7 years. She was charged. It turned out that there was a lot of fake numbers going on there.
Yeah. And to the point where, one of the things I remember in the original reporting, and you can listen to this if you listen to our original episode on, was like, is it 10,000 or something?
It had the maximum number of rows in a single Excel spreadsheet is 1,048,576.
And that's exactly how many customers.
That was the exact number of customers that Frank had. And yes, as you said, many of them were fabricated. And then when JP Morgan tried to use it, it sent an email. Again, this business was literally a list of emails.
Yes.
They paid $170 million for a bunch of emails.
We talked about this at the time that, like, at the end of the day, almost every company in the world is just a list of emails.
It's a list of emails. If you're not a bank, if you're not an ad platform, you're probably a list of emails.
Yeah. Anyway, so why are we bringing this up now? This is the thing with Downround, right? Like, we bring up this random small acquisition that we found vaguely amusing 18 months ago. It's a gift that keeps giving.
We check back in on this stuff.
So the update is that Charlie...
In prison for 7 years.
Who's in prison for 7 years. Okay, well, I should say before this, it is actually typical of these deals that JP Morgan buys Frank and they're like, we will pay from here on in all Frank's legal bills, the directors, everyone who we're like acquiring as part of it. It's like, we are now responsible for like everything moving forward legally.
Yep.
Now, as soon as Frank and Charlie and her co-founder, Amar, got done for fraud, JP Morgan went to court and were like, surely we no longer have to pay their legal bills. The Delaware judge said, no, actually you do. So fast forward to now, and it's just been reported that JP Morgan have paid $142 million in legal fees for her, for Charlie.
Yeah.
Again, a reminder, they paid $175 million for Frank in the first place. They're suing her. They have to pay for her defense, and it's $142 million in legal fees.
I mean, the headline of the New York Times story, which came out last week, was she took JP Morgan for $175 million. That doesn't include her restaurant bills. And the opening of the story is, what would you do if the federal government wanted you in jail and Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, was paying your legal bills? Here's what Charlie Jarvis did. She spent money on luxury hotel upgrades, extravagant meals, and cellulite butter, a personal care product that some people use to treat their skin. As a lawyer at the bank said at a hearing on Friday, then she sent the receipts to the bank. Baller.
100%
baller.
Go off, Queen. Team Charlie here. And now it is apparently like, it is the case that when you have a law firm working for you,
yep,
they just bill you for whatever, right? Like, as in, you can ask them to do anything. It doesn't just have to be legal advice. If you say, go and get me some shea butter, they'll send out, an intern or whatever and bill $800 an hour or whatever for that intern to go out and buy you some food. Or like, if you're having food, they'll bill you for the food. Like, they just put it on the tab, as well as like however many hours or whatever or minutes they want to bill for the person who actually did that. If you say, I need to stay nearby, book me a hotel, they bill you for the hotel. I think Charlie is well aware of what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean, this is what, according, again, New York Times, JP Morgan said in a filing last month that Miss Jarvis engaged 5 separate law firms and that she and her lawyers have treated the original ruling forcing the bank for pay for her defense as a, quote, blank check to bill and expense whatever they please.
Yes, referring to inefficient and duplicative. But her lawyers, who JP Morgan is paying for, responded that JP Morgan has employed 50 lawyers and 6 firms in connection with this case. So you're doing the same thing, JP Morgan.
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
That was in response to the bank's baseless and unwarranted objections to the $142 million in legal fees. I mean, yeah, go off, Charlie, honestly. I mean, I know you're a criminal who committed fraud.
Obviously, you were going down for fraud, and you knew you were going down for fraud because you had essentially a fake Excel spreadsheet of emails that didn't exist. And you thought, I'm on the hook for potentially some serious prison time, so I'm going to get my fucking cellulite butter and my ice cream in my restaurants.
Yeah, I'm going to go out balling
on the book of JP Morgan again. Downrun never endorses criminal behaviour. However,
I know, Lord forgive a white girl for getting a little motion.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry for party rocking. I believe the. Red Foo said all those years ago, and it still holds true today.
But no, I'm go off, Charlie. Like, let's get this up to 175 and just wipe the slate clean. Because the thing is, though, So JP Morgan's paid 140 for her. They would have paid, if they're basically paying the same amount of lawyers, sure, probably without the like egregious spending on hotels, allegedly egregious, sorry. Apparently also like they're billing 24 hours a day in some cases, the law firms. Great, that's fine. They're working around the clock. It's a big case.
Big case.
But they must have spent way more on this now than they spent on Frank in the first place. I do get that it's the principle, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Again, just goes to show, this is what happens when you try as a bank to access the notoriously difficult Zoomer market.
Yeah.
These are the things you have to expect will happen. You will be defrauded by an Elizabeth Holmes type figure.
Yeah. And on the way down, they're going to continue to run rings around you. Exactly. The youth are quite hard to kind of get your a finger on.
The Zoomers, they don't like to work. But, they know their way around a scam. Anyway, so that's our update. People were probably hanging on tenterhooks for that after hearing our Frank episode 18 months ago, whenever it was. But there's the delightful conclusion. And again, all the best to Miss Jarvis in federal prison. Okay, but moving on, and this is just closing the loop, because when we recorded our episode last week, we talked about the fact that the Nvidia earnings were coming the very next day.
Yeah, and it could lead to the collapse of the global economy as we know it.
Didn't happen. In fact, it was a blowout earnings.
Yes. I'm going to give myself a dub. Actually, I'm just going to give myself a dub.
I can't remember what you said.
Well, here's what I said. This is not verbatim, but it was that they'll beat the expected earnings. They'll beat what projected earnings are, and their stock price will end up down.
Yep.
But I didn't say it was going to be a blowout. Prima facie, I was correct.
Yep. Prima facie. Yep.
Whatever. In that they did beat
earnings significantly. I think they cleared revenue by like $3 or $4 billion.
Yeah, I mean, the revenue increased 60% year on year, which is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
They beat projected earnings, but I was like, they'll beat it just and they'll go down. They actually absolutely walloped projected earnings. And the stock, though, did still pumped in after hours, but then dropped after that and finished down. So directionally, they beat earnings and stock finished down. So I'll take that as a dub.
It's now climbing again, but
it's climbing.
A lot of stocks took a pound. A lot of like AI tech stocks took a pounding after Nvidia's earnings. Because again, I think this just comes down to the fact that like markets just don't know how to.
They don't know what they're doing.
Interpret any of this.
No. Here's the worry. The worry is what we outlined a few weeks ago is that OpenAI is committed to purchase $1.4 trillion in CapEx. Yeah. And they don't have that money right now. Yeah, but they're hoping to get it. And so everyone's like, shit, all the numbers are great, but if we can't project for that money, that 1.4 trillion to come through, surely.
The general vibe in the market now is that this is some kind of bubble.
Yeah.
And someone's going to be ruined by this.
Yeah.
And every time Nvidia posts these absurd, like I said, 66% year-on-year growth.
And this is like 2 years ago, we were talking about their revenue being absolutely absurd.
Yeah, and now it's, exactly, totally. So everyone is like, this is a bubble. This is further evidence. The better Nvidia does, it's more evidence that it's a bubble.
Yeah.
We just need to exit at the right time. Even the people who think, as I would say both of us do, that this is a long-term thing, there's going to be something durable coming out of this. Even if you believe that, I think a large number of people who accept that also accept there's got to be a retraction. Something is not being priced correctly.
Yeah.
There's going to be a mismatch between the rollout of this stuff to revenue to all this. There's going to be like a painful adjustment.
Yeah.
Jensen Huang, I'm not sure if he's being like the best communicator about this kind of vibe.
No. Well, when he says things like the global economy was resting on us and we delivered, it's like, but what if you don't?
Yeah, bro, you don't want that mantle. No. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I was reporting on this for Capital Brief, but I went through the Nvidia earnings. And I think the thing that stood out, and a few people reported on this, but I think it was really interesting, and they really pushed this. They were like, Nvidia's networking business, which for them is just like selling the gear that connects their chips.
Yeah, NVLink.
Like the cables, the software, all the rest of it, that literally just like lets their chips talk to each other in data centers.
Yeah,
is now the biggest networking business in the world. Yeah. I think it was like $8.9 billion for the quarter. which makes it bigger than Cisco.
Yeah, I actually have some networking stocks myself that aren't Nvidia, and they're taking a fucking beating because Nvidia is just dominating in the space right now.
But again, $8.9 billion for a quarter for what is literally a marginal business, the entire point of which is like, if you own 2 of our chips, they can fucking talk to each other.
Yeah.
Is what is the biggest such business on earth. And now we're talking about it like, fuck yeah, we are the biggest networking business for something we barely even fucking care about and is marginal to our core business.
We're talking about it's like an alternative to like Ethernet. And you're right, this is the situation. It's like, okay, everyone's talking about bubbles, but if you actually look at like Nvidia's forward earnings, like PE ratio, like price to forward earnings ratio, because they're earning so much money, it's actually fine. Yeah. Like it's not absurd. It's just like they're earning so much money and their projected earnings are so friggin' high. Same is true of like, as we've said before, the big ones like, Google is spending something like 30% of free cash flow on CapEx.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than they have historically done, but like they've got the money. Meta's got the money. Meta's blown more on the friggin' metaverse than they have so far on AI. I mean, they'll get there. They'll probably overtake it. Microsoft, same thing. Like, these are companies that are generating significant amounts of cash. The issue is OpenAI. OpenAI is so tied into so many of these different deals and these weird circular revenue deals that if OpenAI all of a sudden can't meet their commitments, basically their purchase commitments of compute, that's when things get hairy.
Yeah.
Because that means that places like AMD and Oracle and, your Neo Clouds, CoreWeaves and whatnot, all of a sudden it's like their number one purchaser, their number one buyer, and their number one source of revenue isn't there. That's going to cause issues.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree that OpenAI is the weakest link because they are the biggest, most highly valued firm in this space that does not have any other source of revenue.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about this last week, and Mark Zuckerberg's been on a podcast tour where he repeatedly says this, where he's kind of like, if this stuff blows up, if it's a bubble, if it pops, it won't be great for us, but we have so much revenue elsewhere that we'll be able to survive it and whatever. And for us, the risk of missing out, if this turns out to be the defining factor in the next phase of the internet, and we weren't pumping everything we had into it, and then we end up in 3rd or 4th place, that's existential. Yeah. You mentioned the metaverse, same thing. And the metaverse ended up being somewhat okay for them in the sense that they build out a ton of compute that they've now redirected towards AI stuff.
Yeah.
So it helped them get ahead of the curve on a lot of that.
Which you could probably say the same thing about the compute build out for AI. It's like worst case scenario, LLMs, image generation, whatever ends up where it is, they use that in order to serve better ads.
Yeah.
The downside risk for, the Metas, the Googles, the Microsofts of the world is just not that big a risk. Whereas the upside, the flip side of missing out is as you say, existential.
Totally. Again, Google's been building out for this sort of stuff for forever, even though it took them a while to catch up on the current way that AI is structured. They've been building TPUs, like their own chips that are built for machine learning and AI workloads. They've been doing that for over a decade at this point. It's going to get used for something. But regardless, these companies, they're on a war footing. They're like, we're going to pump as much as we can to building out this infrastructure. OpenAI do not have quite as much leeway.
They have to be able to start making a lot of money off this AI shit.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Google's Gemini 3 is really good. They're now cutting edge. They can now say conclusively, we are offering something that is as good or close to as good as the best that OpenAI currently has on the market. And they have all this other ad revenue behind them as well. OpenAI has nothing. If it doesn't work, it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
And where does it all that go?
Yeah. Anyway, point being, demand for Nvidia chips is still through the roof.
Again, they also, their forward guidance for next quarter is we're going to fucking smash Wall Street's estimates as well.
Yeah.
By I think it was $3 or $4 billion. Again, these are crazy numbers, folks.
Yeah.
We've not seen this.
No, we haven't seen this. We're setting new standards.
The last part of the free episode is very funny. It is, we're going back to the world of Elon Musk's X, nay Twitter.
This has been brewing for a couple of weeks.
This has been brewing for a little bit, but it was basically this week, Nikita Beer, who's the head of product at X. We've talked about him a couple of times on the pod before. He was best known before Elon Musk hired him to run product at X for doing like viral apps for teenagers.
Yeah, growth hack.
Growth hack thing that he just like,
they'd get a number one in the App Store and then he'd bail.
And then he'd sell it immediately. So he did one to Slack and one to Meta, I think. They were basically just like targeted at teenagers and young adults. They were usually like weird gossip apps. Gas was one of them.
And like things like, you'd link to it via Instagram usually, but it's like anonymously answer this question about me. Like what's my hottest feature or whatever. Yeah. And like your friends would anonymously answer or things like that.
There was shit run like this running on MySpace. It was the same model.
I know.
Everyone's just interested in being perceived. Anyway, he's the current head of product at X. He's been running a whole bunch of stuff there. But he announced that, and this kind of links into all the shit that's been going on that platform, that they were going to add a menu if you clicked on a user's joining date on Twitter, that it would show you the country they post from.
Yeah. Now, this is big.
Now, this sounds benign.
It sounds benign. Like, okay, whatever. Like, even because, I mean, Twitter's had location forever, although you just said it yourself.
You said it yourself. This is kind of a compulsory one that will show you where you're posting from.
Yeah, where you signed up from and then where you're connected from.
Yeah, what app store you connect to X through. And the reason why this was A, a highly in-demand feature, and B, like so seismic, is that, as we've talked about in the past, X has like a creator revenue.
The worst decision ever made.
I reckon, literally, I agree with you. The worst decision ever made for any social platform.
Yeah.
Where Elon Musk was like, if you are an X premium subscriber, formerly known as Twitter Blue, and you get your blue tick, and you get lots of engagement from other blue ticks looking at your posts, you get a share of the ad revenue for that post.
The ads that people see. Which, like, okay, the thinking being the YouTube model, right? YouTube has always had this rev share model from the beginning where it's like you as a creator can put ads in your content and you'll get a large slice. I think it's like a majority. It might be 60%, something like that. Don't quote me on the numbers. But it's like a pretty decent slice of that ad revenue you get that Google kind of places there. / possibly Substacky, like, at the time he was really mad at Substack and he wanted X to be the creative platform.
Yeah.
That obviously immediately led to, because the dynamics are very different to YouTube.
Yeah.
Like just people just posting the most clickbait.
Like asinine slop content.
Yeah.
Imaginable.
Just like algorithm hacking.
I think the one thing that a lot of people converged on, I would say this is one of the big motivators, is like culture war-y political content. Rage bait. Largely American culture war stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of MAGA type accounts.
Yeah, exactly. Like Roman statue. What are some of the titles? Like the inevitable West.
Exactly.
Like shit like this, and like, Return with the V or whatever. Western Ascension.
Posting videos of like fucking train fights on the London tube.
Yeah.
Basically like really provocative rage bait, often political, with like that culture war undertone.
People started to get a stench. People's noses pricked up a little bit, and they were like, I don't reckon a lot of the people posting these are actually from the West.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the people that are posting this American culture war content, this MAGA bait stuff, there's also a lot of stuff like, is everyone that's doing posts about the war in the Middle East, are they all genuine? Are they there?
Yeah. Yeah, the Israel stuff as well.
And basically the dynamic that people sniffed out, and I think has been revealed to be kind of true, is that a lot of people that are in developing countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, English-speaking, internet-connected, and for whom, if you're living in a developed nation, you are not going to sit on Twitter all day posting for what could be hundreds or thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah. When you talk about like Nigeria, I'm just pulling this from my head, but like, what's the monthly average wage in Nigeria? Exactly. Or Bangladesh? Bangladesh is probably like $250 something.
In a developed first world nation, if you were offered 6 figures to post crazy culture war content, maybe you'd think about start posting about like provocative Nigerian issues for 6 figures. Maybe you would do it.
Point is, yeah, exactly. It's like if you can earn double the average wage,
exactly. Posting slop,
provocative slop on Twitter.
And so, to be clear, some of it is not like aggressive political stuff. Some of it's like weird Zoomer affirmations, like dating content.
I mean, another one of them I feel like is like those stories, like really long, like fake story, but obviously they're just kind of copy pasting from other like Reddit.
Or just like complete just reheated memes, like videos that everyone's seen, but they just post it again.
Yeah, or like tweets that people have made before. And
yeah, exactly. Just stolen tweets. Basically, the end result is that someone who lives in a country where it might be difficult for them to make that level of money, which again, I'm talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars US per month.
Yeah.
That could be a life-changing amount of money, are posting this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it was specifically the political content, where it was like, you're posting like crazy rage bait about like racial crime rates in American cities, and I don't think you're American.
Yeah, exactly. And so everyone has been fiending for this feature. When Nikita Beard mentioned that we might be dropping this, everyone was like, please drop it. They have. And I think almost everyone assumed that that all of the, in particular, like white, Western, the white male will rise kind of like return stuff was Indians. A lot more Nigerians, I think, than people thought. Definitely some Indians, but a lot more Nigerians.
All of a sudden, you could click on the person's like date they joined Twitter, and it would show you this person's posting from X, or from posting from, wherever, Nigeria, Pakistan, Middle East, or, United States, Australia, whatever.
Southeast Asia, it would often say.
Yeah. And also, he kind of backtracked at some point because the feature got turned on and off.
Yeah.
And they decided if you're from a country that has like a repressive government, they would only give a general area. Like they would have West Asia or Africa or whatever. And yeah, you're right. There was a lot of, again, the Nigerians, they have hustle.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, obviously they've been associated with scams forever.
Yeah.
Because it's just, they're English speaking.
Yeah.
They've got hustle. They've always been doing this.
Yeah, they're entrepreneurial. Yeah. And like, there's a lot of Nigerians. I mean, they're the ones who mostly do all the scale AI stuff, right? It's like they do a lot of the reinforcement learning. I got respect for the Nigerians. Yeah. But including accounts that are called like Ultra MAGA Alpha.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at them and they've got 60,000 followers. You have no idea how many of those are bots or fellow travelers or whatever. Tons of like the Manosphere accounts.
Oh, so many.
With like the picture is like Jason Statham or something. And it's like, here's how you like...
If your wife's not having enough sex with you, here's what you do.
Yeah, totally. And then it's like, lo and behold, based in India, whatever. Again, it's just like slop to win some of that ad revenue.
Which is like so broken. All of this comes from this stupid rev share thing.
Even before you bring in like the culture war content from people from other countries, it's just like, because the effort level required to post on X is zero.
Yeah.
There's no effort required to post something crazy. To win revenue on YouTube, you actually just by definition have to make content that's compelling.
Yeah, well, because exactly, you have to make like a 20-minute video or whatever and like have watch time. You have to have people actually watch through the friggin' thing.
The expectations get driven up by the fact that there are lots of people doing highly produced content. There's no similar forcing function on X.
No.
All you need to do is steal a tweet that was popular 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Post it, and you're in the game for thousands of dollars of revenue.
Totally. This genius who bought X, did he not think through, dare I say, second order effects of saying, we will pay even like quite a big account a few $100 a month? Do you not think that like,
that's going to incentivize the fucking worst content imaginable?
Exactly. From people who that money is going to be worth a lot more than...
Yeah, totally. And the other thing that makes it different to YouTube and whatever is that the X algorithm, and I know they've like introduced Grok to it and whatever, is completely fucking, it's sticky and bizarre and weird, and it will serve you crazy shit, and everyone will see one post that sucks.
Yeah.
The one that always comes up is that it became like a minor scandal on Twitter. Some guy did some post about Sydney Sweeney or something. I don't know if you saw this. I can't even remember what the post was exactly. But it was literally the concept of the post was like Sydney Sweeney is hot. There's a lot of content at X along these lines.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that post went crazy. It had like, 800,000, 900,000, a million favorites. And the guy who tweeted that posted a screenshot of his earnings. And he made like $8,000 for making that post. For a very banal observation that Sydney Sweeney is attractive. And I was just looking at that being like, fucking hell. If you're like if you live in like a village in Pakistan and you see that, you go, I can do that. I can fucking do that with my head tied by my back, and I will be rich.
Yeah.
Literally rich by the standards of the country I live in. You can't do that on YouTube. There's lots of like annoying rage bait, quote unquote, slop on YouTube.
But there's a reason why everyone says like, comment, subscribe. It's like the only way to actually genuinely make money off YouTube. Either pump out like insane amount of AI content on like 100 different accounts, or actually just be like producing high quality content, finding your audience and making them subscribe and getting them to watch. I mean, because it's just different.
And YouTube has like a proper process for demonetization where they will say, you've posted something that's fucking crazy and against our terms of service, so you can't make money anymore. X has none of that.
No, as you say, literally you can just take a video and post it. Whereas like YouTube, that's just going to be taken down immediately.
Yeah. I mean, there was, because I know we've talked a lot about all these accounts being exposed, but it is kind of funny that like the opposite has happened, where there's also like a bunch of accounts that people just assumed were fake, but then was revealed that they're
real.
They're totally normal. There was lots of those. And then, again, it doesn't solve the problem. It just makes everyone a million times more paranoid.
Yeah.
Because if you click on and you look at that location listing, it'll say like United States, but then it'll have a shield next to it. And if you run your mouse over that, it says, you know, one of our partners has detected that this person is using a VPN.
Yeah.
And people use VPNs for totally legitimate reasons. If they're using Twitter while also using a VPN, for whatever reason they might be doing it. But then how can they possibly disprove that they're not like a guy living in Pakistan posting stuff for the engagement? It just makes the platform more insane.
Exactly.
Which is already fucking demented.
Well, yeah. One last comment on X. The vague posting thing, I still don't like. How daily I'll open it and there'll be a post with 2,500 retweets that'll be like, this the shit they tried to warn us about. With no other context.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that genre? Yeah, and obviously there's people in the comments being like, I require context or whatever. But it's like, there is no context. But people just vibe with like that. Or like, she was right about Jay-Z all along.
Yeah. I got to say, I've been on Twitter/X for too long, like 15 years. Yeah. I've had an account on that website. And I've seen it go through all its changes and, you know, up and down when it was Twitter and then Elon Musk and whatever. I don't know what the fuck you would do if you came in cold to that platform. If you were like, oh, X, interesting.
Yeah, the Everything app.
Oh, the Everything app.
Yeah,
oh, okay. Let me just check what that is. What the fuck? The fresh feed must be just like, it must be psychosis inducing.
Absolutely. And well, some has left. We've talked about this many times before about X. Like, the leaders of the world are still on there. They kind of still have to be. Less than they used to be, but like,
they're around.
It's still, countries still have to announce things on there and whatnot. And prime ministers and presidents have to like use it as a place to like announce things.
I do think there's also like a kind of psychosis inducing factor where it's like X is obviously way more right wing just as a baseline than it was when it was Twitter, and it was like kind of a left liberal vibe and they were the dominant culture. And now I would say like right wing tech guys plus the MAGA people are sort of the dominant culture on X.
Yeah.
But the fact that they are, but like Trump is not on X at all and he only posts on True Social. It just throws the whole thing out of whack.
Yeah.
Their whole universe revolves around this one guy, but he's not on there.
Yeah, I know.
It sends people crazy, I think.
Right.
It's unmoored.
The bifurcation of like the text platforms plus the like psychotic decisions that have gone into like the primary text platform being X, this can't last. This is very unstable.
I think we did an episode of Dan Round years ago where we talked about Parler.
Parler, the right wing.
The right wing Twitter.
What the fuck is happening with Parler? Has that been...
Remember how Kanye West was going to buy it?
Yeah, no, that fell through.
That fell through.
But is Parler still kicking?
I don't know. Surely not. On the episode we did about that, which I think might have been when Kanye said he was going to buy it.
Parler, I believe it's still... Current status is online. But its users... The last active users they had was from 2022 was 700,000 to 1 million. Who'd be using Parler?
I don't know. You would have to be pretty deranged. I think if you're a massive Trump head, you're on True Social. Yeah. It's still, that's kind of deranged to me. What is happening on that side apart from sort of responding to things that Donald Trump is saying? I mean, that's big.
Yeah.
That used to be what people did on Twitter. So I get that that's kind of like a stream of content. But back then we talked about, is the world just going to bifurcate into there's like a lefty version of a platform and a right-wing version of a platform. It's kind of happened.
Yeah.
You've got Kick, you've got Twitch,
Yeah.
you've got X, you've got Blue Sky, Rumble or YouTube.
Yeah. Everyone's still on YouTube. Everyone's still on Instagram.
There's probably a bit of a political division between TikTok and Reels. I feel like Reels might be slightly more crazy. But anyway, it's to a certain extent that has kind of happened. We have like a weird fractured public sphere and internet. Who knows if that's good or not? But anyway.
On the other side of the paywall, the only way to get good content nowadays is none of this crap.
Paying your favorite creators, cold hard cash.
One-to-one connection with your favorite creators via subscription, because that's the only way to monetize. And everyone has been mentioning actually how good our ad placement has been over the last few months, by the way. If you're complaining about, I was going to say like, A, we've got a producer now so they won't sound bad, and if they do, it's his fault. But B, that's not a good upsell. If you're complaining about like our ads just coming in at a jarring point, well then buy.
Just buy.
$9.50 a month. Like we're talking about like $2 a week.
I would like to apologize. It is my fault every time you've had like an ad just like blast in mid-sentence for our free listeners. I will say that shouldn't happen anymore, but why even listen to ads at all when you could be subscribing to Down Around Premium? An extra episode every week, no ads. Head to downaround.net to buy it. I would also like to flag, because I've heard from several people who said, I understand there is an Eli Lilly ad running on our podcast presently, where whoever is narrating it sounds like one of us. I want to be abundantly clear, that's not us. We have not done an ad read for Eli Lilly, and they have not stolen our voice with AI to record that ad.
That we know of.
That we know of. If they're doing it without our permission, let me say it right now, Eli Lilly, quit it.
Yeah, I do not consent
I
to
do
you
not
using
consent.
my voice to promote your weight loss drugs.
Downround.net. You can subscribe to Downround Premium. I strongly advise you do.
Absolutely, especially if you want to hear a check-in on the media and search traffic plummeting and OpenAI rating Apple's hardware. See you on the other side.